as I started to say, I was on the streets, and at one time, I was 13 years old, and I was carrying a gun. That's the kind of hoopla I was. Yeah. And Sammy Davis Jr., they got me a gig with an African American orchestra, and I was a band boy. I didn't know what the hell a band boy was. And what I had to do was put out the charts and the seats for the musicians, and I did. And at the end of the evening, the band leader came over to me and he gave me $50. And really, and it was like, he said, get yourself some new kicks, shoes. My shoes were torn to shreds. And for $15, I bought a pair of Florsheim shoes, which were the best. And I gave my mother $35, which is more money than she had earned all month.
Wow.
And I became the band boy for this orchestra. Well, one thing led to another, and 20 some odd years later, I was in Las Vegas, and I was Tony Bennett's opening act. I don't know if you know who Tony Bennett is. And I was his opening act for 4 years.
How did you get that job?
I was working up in the Catskills as a comedian by material that was given to me by another performer, a guy named Pepper Davis. And I was appearing, and one thing led to another. And as I said, 20 some odd years later, I'm at the Sands opening for Tony Bennett. And in the orchestra, in the audience was Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Sammy Davis Jr.
Oh my God.
And Sam came to me and said, where do I know you from? You look so familiar. And I said, I'm the kid that you said was gonna go to prison or die. And we both cried. And it went from there. I became a cop at one time in New York because I thought I could make a difference. Cops were, to me, something to be feared of. At one time, on the street, a friend of mine by the name of Lefty was being looked after or looked for by the cops, and they grabbed me. And they took me to the police station, and they beat me to a pulp, trying to find out where Lefty was, and I really didn't know where Lefty was. And they worked me over. And I swore that if I would become a cop, I would make a difference. Well, I limped home, and there's Lefty in the schoolyard playing handball. And I walked over to Lefty and I punched him right in the face. And he said, why you hit me? I said, that's for the damn beating I took because I didn't know where you were. He said, I've been here all the time. And later on, I became a cop. And as a cop, I thought I was going to make a difference. And a friend of mine whose wife was working for the man who created Car 54.
Right.
And he asked me if I'd like to come in and read for the part. Now.
And this is when you were a cop?
Yes.
Wow.
I'd only been a cop for like a minute and a half.
Right.
And I walked in, and Nat Hiken, the man who created Car 54, said to me, you're Ed Nicholson. And I said, no, I'm Hank Garrett. He said, just the kind of dummy I'm looking for. Ed Nicholson is the character I want you to play. I went, oh God. Well, that's how it got started for me. I did a television series called Car 54, Where Are You?
Yes.
A comedy about the police officer. When I was 11 years old, a guy by the name of Min Pai, he was a Korean gentleman, he came to the neighborhood and he was going to start teaching martial arts.
You say Min Pai, I think of going...
Yeah, Min's Pai. So he started teaching kids for nothing. So trying to get the older people to come and take lessons. Well, I started training with mince pie. See, I said mince.
Right?
Mr. Pie.
Mr. Pie.
And for the wrong reasons. I wanted to be a better street fighter. Instead, I learned humility and respect. And it changed my life. My closest friend was a guy named George Washington Jr. And he and I would actually slept on the streets at that time. And there are things that I can't repeat about, well, I'll try to anyway. When we were training, George was very tall, had extremely long legs, so he could really do incredible kicks.
Right.
And Min said, Mr. Washington, you do very good, very good. But you throw punch and kick, you miss. Please don't say, oh. He said, no. And he said, no, please don't say things like this. He was saying, oh shucks. No, actually. Well, we trained for 6 hours a day, 6 months, 2 years, and finally we competed against another school. And my teacher, my sensei, came and said, Mr. Washington, you do wonderful, wonderful. But now you make contact, you say, take that, you... Can't repeat. Anyway, we competed, and then my martial arts, I got a call to come see about a movie called 3 Days of the Condor.
Oh my God. Did you do it with Faye Dunaway and
Faye Dunaway, Robert Redford.
Robert Redford.
And because of my martial arts background, I got the part, which you saw fight scene. I wound up winning the New York Film Critics Award for Best Fight Scene on Film. So, how martial arts, and I recommend martial arts to everyone. It'll teach you so many, many wonderful things. It teaches you respect. It's probably the best exercise you could ever do for your body and your mind. And that's what brought me to wherever I've been going. I'm in the Martial Arts Hall of Fame. I became a professional wrestler. I wrestled as Hank Daniels, the Minnesota Farm Boy. And so
I saw the Minnesota Farm Boy on IMDb.
Oh,
Yeah, it's one of your other names.
yes.
I just find it fascinating that you were going down the wrong path.
Oh, absolutely.
You could have not been here right now.
The way I was going out, and they said I would either go to prison or die.
And like you said, Sammy Davis Jr. He saved you in the way he showed you this other path that you could choose.
Absolutely.
And
That and a few others that I ran into in my life. Also, Hector Elizondo, who's a wonderful actor, is a dear friend of mine, and we were on the streets together. And he became an outstanding actor. In fact, he's going to be at my event coming up.
oh, when is that? Oh, right, that event. Yes.
So I am so lucky to be here, and I am so happy to be here with you guys. Yeah, there's so much out there.
I went through, and of course again, we had lunch the other day, and I could have been there for 5 hours because you have so many stories, and his autobiography's coming out, so I can't wait to buy that. And I guess it's going to be a book on tape as well.
Yes, yeah, and it's entitled "Up from the Sidewalk."
Wow, that's a great title.
We've been working with Deanna Marie, my manager. She and I have been working on this just talking about what I experienced as a kid. And had it not been for people guiding me, I probably wouldn't be here today. I was pretty tough. I thought I was tough. But I found out there were people out there a lot tougher than me. I spent a lot of time in the ring. I didn't get this face from just shaving.
Oh, it's a gorgeous face.
No, you didn't see it before. And I thank God just about every time, because had it not been, God is good. God is really good. At one point, I was in a terrible automobile accident coming back from the Catskills. And I spent 13 and a half months in a hospital. I was really busted up. And they said I'd never walk. My cousin, a cousin of mine, was a nutritionist. And I was in a body cast for 8 months. My cousin came and brought me vitamins, all kinds of supplements. And at one point they were going to have him arrested for practicing medicine without a license, because he wasn't an MD.
Right.
And they confiscated all the supplements and they threw it in the trash. My cousin came back the next day with a massive box of candy. And he said, give the candy to the nurses. The supplements are on the bottom layer. Well, I was taking all this stuff, and he set up a bunch of exercises. I was using pulley weights to work out. Now, I'm eating all these vitamins, the nurses are eating the candy. I left, I was in massive condition. They all had developed zits. They all put on about 25 pounds because they kept eating all the chocolate that my cousin kept bringing.
And half their teeth were gone.
Exactly. It said, we're so happy that you came here. Nice to see you. And really, all the teeth were gone. So, I've had some wonderful experiences, some incredible experiences, but there again, the boss.
And you know what? It's about listening too. We all get messages in our life. Sometimes it's through other people, sometimes it's through signs. And you listen to the signs that help say, hey, you might want to go this way, it might be better for you.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
But had it not been for the martial arts, I still would have gone wrong. Because learning respect and humility,
Right.
which I did not have before. I respected no one. I didn't care about anyone because I was living on the street. And when you live on the street, you grab what you can do, and didn't care about anything except surviving.
Yeah.
But because of the martial arts, I learned to respect others. I respected my teacher, my sensei. He became the master. And now I have, I had many, many students when I had my gym in New York, my dojo. And to have the respect and humility to see the change in the children that I was training was amazing.
I love how through life we all are teachers and we all are students.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And if we understand that and accept that, it could be an amazing life, an amazing journey.
That's exactly what it is. It's a journey. It's a wonderful journey. Sometimes not so wonderful, but when you start understanding what the journey is, then it becomes wonderful.
You do voiceovers too.
Yes.
You all know the show G.I. Joe?
Oh, yeah.
I do the voice of dial tone. As a communications expert, And he speaks like this. He says, okay, from now on, guys, we're going to do it this way. Listen to me because I'm going to be asking questions.
Okay, that's not a cowboy.
And I also do Fluffy and Fast Eddie on Garfield.
Oh, I love that.
And Fluffy speaks, Fluffy is a big white guy, a big dog, and he talks like this. He says, hi, how are you? And Fluffy speaks like this because he's very small and he's very fast and he talks very quick.
I love that. Also, I don't know if everybody remember Max Headroom. You did
Yeah.
you were on Max Headroom.
Yes, I was Asheville, the head of board of directors.
That was fun too. Yes. That is so fun to get into voiceover.
Oh,
It's tough though, isn't it? To get in there?
Oh, wow. It was great fun.
Yeah.
I learned, my mentor was a guy named Sid Caesar. I don't know if you remember Sid Caesar from television, but he taught me dialectic gibberish. And I wound up doing a show in London called That Was the Week That Was. I lived in London for 18 months. And I would be interviewed by David Frost. And David would ask me a question, and I would be the Italian ambassador. And I'd walk up and I'd say, and he would say, the bathroom is down the hall. And that's what I did. Each week I did a different character. Once I was a Japanese kabuki. Now this actually happened. I trained with a lot of different people in martial arts. And he was Japanese, and I was introduced to him and was training with him. And at one point he said to me, and I said, Sensei, I don't understand what you're saying. He said, I want you to move your right foot slightly to the left. I said, you speak English? He said, of course. I said, well, why didn't you tell me? He said, if I speak English, nobody pays attention.
Oh.
So I have to be really possible, don't you, the boy?
Well, maybe later, if you do an improv, Elena actually speaks Japanese.
Actually, David, I'm half Japanese. I'm a halfer.
Right, but you speak Japanese.
Yeah, I'm a halfer.
You're a halfer.
Japanese. I'm Australian.
All right.
Well, I did this on the show.
Yeah.
I was a Chinese delivery man.
Ni hao.
No MSG.
I love character voices. I love it.
I know, right?
When I grew up, I used to, with my cousin, we'd make up voices. We made up a whole language.
That's what we were doing in improv.
Right,
Yes.
which is going to be a little like in about 20 minutes. We're going to do some fun stuff like that. I do have to say, what is it? Oh, there's a few names I put down. The three movies that I remember growing up with: The Sentinel, The Jazz Singer, The Amityville Horror. All of those you did.
Yes.
I love that. Such classics.
Oh, I've been very fortunate. I really have. I've been very lucky in the business. Just to look at the draw.
Well, plus that handsome face.
Ha!
And a plethora of life.
Yes,
You know?
yes.
I wrote down the name Sophia Loren.
Oh,
Yes.
did a film with Sophia in the British West Indies.
Oh, wow.
And it was interesting. It was Sophia, O.J. Simpson, James Coburn,
Oh, wow.
and I play a bad guy for a change.
For a change.
And Sophia, we're in Antigua. We were there for a month. And Sophia is my boss's girlfriend. And my boss wants to see her. And I go in, she's in a gift shop. And I say, my boss wants to see you. And she said, well, tell him to wait. I said, no. Nobody tells him to wait. And I grab her arm and I twist her arm. And I throw her in the car. And she's sitting there, and I've got my hand up, and O.J. Simpson is going to rescue her. So what he was supposed to do is put his hand on the back of my head, and I would do the hit, bang my head up against the side of the car.
Right.
O.J. didn't play by the rules, so he grabbed my hair and smashed my head and cut me open,
Oh, my God.
and down I went. Now, I'm lying there, and my ex-wife was in a hotel, and they ran to get her, saying that Hank is hurt. My ex-wife comes running out, and I'm lying in Sophia's lap, and she's blotting the blood with a towel.
Right.
And my ex-wife looks at me and says, "Are you comfortable?" And I said, well, I make a nice living.
Oh, my God.
Next thing I know, my wife turned around, ran back to the hotel, packed, and left. She was so angry. Now,
And that's why she's your ex-wife.
but we reconciled. Now, we're back in New York, and we're walking down Madison Avenue, and there was a small hotel right off 76th Street. We're walking down evening, and my then wife, and the hotel the door opens, and two guys in suits are walking around, and I said, bodyguards. Out comes Sophia. And she sees me across the street, and she yells, "Oh, Hank, darling, how are you?" And she runs over and hugs me. My wife goes, "Taxi!" Following week, I had papers for divorce. Yeah.
You know what's so funny is how you can, it's a serious story, but it is funny. It's just the circumstances and the way you present it. And life, you have to laugh at life.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to laugh, because otherwise, as my mom would say, you'd cry. But the way you present it, it's great. We have another special guest here. Your manager, Deanna Marie. I'm going to get a chair for you here. We'll have you sit right here, I believe, right next to Hank. Hank.
Watch out for the wires.
Yes.
I better be careful.
There we go. So I want to know, my dear, how did you meet this wonderful man?
Well, I've lived in many areas, and I was living in London, which I loved. I was kicked out of there. I was an international fashion designer. And unlike this country, where it seems like we let a lot of people in, they made me, let's see, if I could have stayed, if I came up with 800,000 pounds, which is almost, at that time, it was like $1.5 million. Well, no way that was going to happen. So I said, well, I have a business, I'm employing people. They said, well, wouldn't like you Americans, we go by the rules, and if you want to stay here, go out of the country and apply, in 2 years you'll be back. And I thought, all my ties, everything I've worked for is gone. Well, I had to leave, and I was brokenhearted. So I thought, I'm gonna fix them, I'm gonna get back to New York. So I got a job, my first corporate job. I went to New York, and I kind of fell in love with New York, and I forgot the design business. And that's kind of what happened. The only reason I came back to LA is my mother was dying. So I came back and I thought, well, I'm going to get involved in community service, be on a few boards. This one board that I was on, it was for the oldest Hollywood thing, and gosh, the women there, they put up the money to develop the Hollywood Bowl, things like that. So it was really exciting for me. So I was in charge of doing the PR for this 107th anniversary. So it just so happened that this one was conned in by the woman doing the entertainment to do this function for just a minimal amount. That's how we met. And he didn't drive, he's a New Yorker, he doesn't drive, and he needed somebody to drive him for a month, and I said, I can handle that, you know, he's a nice man. Well, after the end of the month, I thought, this guy is so interesting, here's another career for me. So it took me 3 months to convince him I could manage him. He said, have you done it? No. But I've done a lot of things. And that's kind of where we started. And it just proves that you don't have to have experience. It helps, but maybe your life goes that you have to jump into other things to make it work. And that's kind of what I've tried to do with him. I'm having a ball. Forget fashion design, Wall Street, any of those things. And this book, I gotta tell you, when we were working on it, he mentioned when we met David, Hank was doing a premiere of his one-man show, and it was comedian skits here and there. So afterwards, people came up and said, do you have a book of your life, like A to Z, where you were born, you know, all up to present? And I thought, wow, I could help him there, because I'm a writer, and that's kind of how it developed. So about midway part, we'd have lunch, and I'd take little bits here and piece it together. And I said, you know, I don't believe you. You said you're from Harlem, you didn't go to school much, kept classes, but you write like a pro. You speak so spontaneously. I think you're full of it.
Oh.
And so he looked at me, and he didn't know if I wanted me to be his manager anymore, but that was why I wanted to work with him so badly, because he had so many parts of him. So I still don't know how he became so well written with his background. I think it's just a natural thing, but I'm really pleased, and it's given me another career. They call me Red Warrior, I'm sure. Behind my back it says Red Bitch Warrior. Red Warrior.
Why do you have the mic? And then you'll answer the same question maybe.
Yes.
What is your biggest joy?
Well, I think as a fashion designer, you were an actor, and you were as good as your last collection. The people liked what you wore. You were successful. If they didn't, God help you. So I did a lot of speaking, and that was exciting for me. And I taught once, and I love that. So I guess dealing with people was my biggest joy. Now with him, you test me if I'm right or not. He is a little older, but he had quite a background. But he looks good, doesn't he? So I got him a little gig of sorts in Idaho. It made me wonder about my background, but I got him to be the speaker at the Juvenile Delinquent Center, right? So anyway, he was wondering how I knew these people, but I got him in. And the audience was like age 11 to 19. And these were, you know, you had to go behind 3 locked doors. You know, they were kind of bad kids. So I was wondering, because he's a little older, I wondered if it would work, if I made a mistake. And I was just amazed at how he could connect with them. And that's one of the things he wants to do, is to deal with, help young people get on the right track, like Sammy Davis did for him. So my challenge, as I see it, and this may not be a challenge, there's a younger audience that don't know about all the things that he's done, like maybe Tony Bennett, a lot of people know him now because of Lady Gaga. And everybody knows Lady Gaga. So I would love any help you have, how I can get the younger audience to know about these shows that he's done, to get excited about it. And I hope that's what we'll do with the book, Up from the Sidewalk. The Many Lives of Hank Garrett.
Yeah. And your show, the Car 54, as we know, is on TV now.
Yes.
In reruns.
Yeah.
Wow. So you could see him. A lot of episodes on
When
that.
you look at it, the one I love most is he was the baby of the show. He was 18, but he looked about 35. And the one I love most, I'm really helping myself out. But the ones I love most is he's in there, he was kind of narcissistic. Anyway, he's so multi-talented. I really find, I'm really lucky to work with you. I hope that helps my career. But I mean it.
What the hell do you mean by a little? Oh, he's a little older. Mature. Thank you. What brings me joy? This is what it is. It's the truth. I've had, being a little older, I have experienced a lot. I've known a lot of people in my life, and no one has brought me the kind of joy that I'm experiencing now. And I've had a lot of experience in the past. When you live on the streets, you get very old very quickly. And I'm experiencing all the stuff that I missed in my early youth. I'm having it now.
That's beautiful. You know, when I think I saw you both together the first time, and then I found out, oh, you were his manager, but there was something more. I just felt that there was this amazing connection, this like soul connection, you know, when you meet your soulmate, and just for some reason I truthfully, I said, oh, no, there's a bond there, it's a past life.
Well, you know, I drive him everywhere. It gives you a lot of power.
Yeah.
I made a huge mistake. I taught her karate. And one of my teachers said, are you nuts? You taught her karate? One day, she's gonna say, you really pissed me off. So I'd like to say goodbye now, because I may not be around later. Though I gotta tell you something, honestly. She's a practitioner of, oh my God, so many things.
This is about you.
No, she does yoga for an hour, and then she trains with me for an hour pumping iron, seriously. And she'll put in a full hour of yoga, and then go to the gym with me and pump iron. And then I'm stupid enough to teach her karate. It's called a death wish. In fact, I did the movie Death Wish.
Another class.
It's really been so exciting. And I gotta tell you something, I'm really having a wonderful time talking to you guys. We have been going children that are incarcerated. I'm talking about from the age of 11 to 17.
Wow.
Deanna Marie set it up. We were in Idaho, and we went and talked to these kids. Now I'm talking about kids that there was one 11-year-old that has already been in prison twice. Yeah, and it's frightening. And I started talking to these kids. Now, I'm not putting them down because I was there. I went through what these kids went through. My son, who is no longer with us, my son spent his life in prison. He really did. He got out not too long ago, and he was killed on a motorcycle. But when I was talking to these kids, I saw my son's face, and I saw my face sitting there with these kids. And I didn't talk down to them because all I kept saying was, I know what you're going through because I went through the same thing. I had to try to prove I was a tough guy to survive. And God came into my life.
Amen.
And this is what I kept talking to these kids about. It changed my life. And I tell them there's another life out there for them. All you have to do is believe.
Amen.
And these kids wrote me letters. 14 of them wrote me letters. And I talk about Sammy Davis Jr. And I said, Sammy Davis Jr. was sent to me to save my life. And they said, Mr. Garrett, you're our angel. There's an angel for every one of us sitting here. All you have to do is be ready to listen with your heart. And this is what we do. We've been going to these different events. In fact, we went to a women's prison and spoke to these ladies. And all I did was say to every one of these women, you are so beautiful. Every one. As I'm saying to you, every one of you is so beautiful. And for me, it's such a godsend to be here because of David, to talk to you. Now, had it not been for David, who was an angel, to bring us to speak to all people who are angels. And you make my heart sing. David asked me to come here to talk about acting and improv, and it's kind of taken another.
Well, it's life. I have one more question, and what we'll do is we'll take a 5-10 minute break just to go to the bathroom. And then we're going to come back, and then we'll have a little improv class.
Yeah!
During that, if you have any questions, you could ask Hank. The one question I have of both of you is, what do you want the most at this moment in your life?
I think the book is very important for Hank. It's an autobiography, and I think it's his way of giving back, aside from speaking to lots of different people. So I want to get it published. We have a publicist, and we're just keeping our fingers crossed that we meet the right people to make it happen. And if you'd like, perhaps we can get like a preview of the first one-man show based on the book.
Yes!
What do I want? God has given me everything.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
I truly want for nothing. Boy. What I'm experiencing now, I wish everyone would experience. I found the most wonderful woman in the world. I found such an incredible friend. I've had money. I've had millions, truly. My ex-wife has got those millions. But it doesn't buy happiness. It truly doesn't. When I'm talking to you, I'm happiest. Speaking to you incredible people brings joy. It really, really does. And I thank you for giving me that joy.